episode 49.
Welcome to Into the 99, where we have 99 cards, because Commander's number 1. I'm your host, Brian.
I am Hope.
I'm Daniel.
I am Formal.
Today we're talking one of the commanders from the Ikoria decks. I personally think this is one of the strongest commanders to come out this year. This card is nuts. There's no way for us to know how to pronounce this. It's
Xyris or Xyris or Xyris or...
It's Xyris. So Xyris, X-Dog, whatever you want to call him.
Snake homeboy.
Yeah. The king of the snake.
He's a snake leviathan. You guys get it. You understand what's going on.
Yeah, so this is one of the secondary commanders. So this one is Xyris the Writhing Storm. It is 2 and Temur, so it's 1 green, 1 blue, and 1 red. And it's, as we noted, a legendary snake leviathan with flying, 3/5, and whenever an opponent draws a card except the first one they draw in each of their draw steps, create a 1/1 green snake creature token, and whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you and that player draw that many cards.
Great abilities all around. Yeah. It's a token generator built in. It's flying. It's group hug on hit.
Yeah, so it's definitely an interesting potential build because, like Daniel said, it has the group hug capabilities, but also when you're giving them that hug, you're also making attackers or blockers or fodder or whatever you want those little snakes to be.
That's why I call this the bear hug deck.
Yeah. Interestingly enough,
does not make bears.
Both Brian and Daniel. It could, though. It's green.
Bears not included.
It could, though, because it's green. Interestingly enough, Daniel and Brian both made this deck, and it's a similar vibe, but very different. You know what I mean?
So we're going to talk about some of the most common archetypes in it. Obviously, draw is what you want. You want to be drawing cards. So we're going to start with Brian's deck, and we're going to go through... let's do your enchantments, Brian, the ones you went with.
So I think we should just kind of quickly go through the differences. Because me and Daniel, before this, we were actually just going through the numbers.
Oh, the number differences?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So for mine, I run 32 lands, and I believe Daniel runs 36.
Yeah, here, I'll pull mine up.
Which is
you pull
weird
yours up,
for you, by the way.
Yeah.
Daniel is always a low land boy. This is a really uncharacteristic for him.
Yeah.
And then for creatures...
Daniel? Yeah.
For creatures, I have 16.
I run 22.
Wow.
For sorceries, I have 8.
I run 11.
Enchantments, I have 9.
10.
And then instants, 14.
I think I have 4.
4?
Yeah.
Huge difference there. And then artifacts, I have 20.
And Daniel has 14. Yeah.
And I think you also included 2 planeswalkers?
Yeah, and I do have 2 planeswalkers.
And I have nil.
Nil planeswalkers, fair.
So for mine, I again, because I played against Daniel's. He was the very first one I was able to discard a card from his hand, and I unfortunately made the wrong play to get rid of Perforos.
Yeah, you sure did. I'm never going to be that person in the pod that tells somebody else how to play. I'm never going to be the person that if Brian has the opportunity to force Daniel to discard a card, I'm never going to tell Brian what to discard because I don't know what Brian's plan is for the game. Yeah. Exactly. So it's not my place to tell him.
I'm going to be honest, in this deck, if you have the chance to discard Perforos,
discard Perforos.
Yeah.
Because just consider how many snakes can and will come into play. You're going to die. So, sorry. Go ahead, Brian. Just needed to throw that out there.
So for my enchantments, I have 9. I run Aqueous Form, Dictate a Crucifix.
What do they do, obviously, Brian?
Dick.
So Aqueous Form is a enchanted creature can't be blocked. I want to be able to get my hits in so I can draw cards.
Yeah, you want to decide when you're hitting.
And unfortunately, I want someone else to be drawing those cards so I can make some snakes.
Snakes.
Dictate a Crucifix, my second one, it's 1 and 2 blue, and it's an enchantment's flash, and at the beginning of each player's draw step, that player draws an additional card.
You're just being a friend.
Yep. Now that's how I kind of play it off until things quickly get out of hand.
I was going to say until you read the next card.
Yeah, so the next card would be Doubling Season. I don't think I have to go into what this does. But
yeah, I think everyone knows Doubling Season.
We double down.
Yeah, double everything.
Yeah.
And then next is so the next two are the enchantments that you want to get rid of if you are playing against this deck.
Yeah, they're kind of the damage bread and butter in this kind of deck.
So Goblin Bombardment and Impact Tremors. So Goblin Bombardment, I can sacrifice a creature to deal 1 damage to target player or target creature.
Or creature.
Great card, yep.
And then
I think it's errated to any target now. So you can hit Planeswalkers too.
Nice. That would make sense.
Yeah, makes sense.
Maybe you check into that.
And Impact Tremors is again white, 1 and red, and whenever a creature comes into play, I get to deal 1 damage to something.
To each opponent.
It is errated to any target, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Then that's excellent.
Yeah, so you can hit Planeswalkers.
Yeah, Impact Tremors hits everyone.
Yeah, Impact Tremors global hit hurts.
Yeah, it's brutal. It's way worse.
Brian runs Rhystic Study, always.
Yeah, any blue.
Are you going to pay the 1? No.
Well, thank you. I will take that draw.
You're so welcome.
And then Rites of Flourishing, so 2 and green.
Draw 2, play 2.
Yeah, at the beginning of each player's draw step, that player draws a card, and each player may play an additional land on his or her turn. That just, again, reinforcing the group hug.
Yep.
Just, I want everybody not to feel threatened until things have...
Until you're ready to threaten.
Yeah. And one that I've had a lot of fun with actually is the Teferi's Ageless Insight.
It's a great card.
2 and a blue and blue. If you would draw a card, except the first one you draw in each of your draw steps, draw 2 cards instead.
Yeah, it's like half of Alhamerit's Archive. It's very nice.
Alhamerit's.
So what? So like we were playing, and I had my Consecrated Sphinx out. For each of those cards that I would draw, I would then technically draw 4.
Oh.
Well, 2 for each draw.
Yeah, so every time an opponent drew, you could draw 4.
Yeah. And
Ew.
yeah, fantastic. I quickly realized that I was going to mill myself if I didn't just come.
Do you have a Lineman in this deck?
I did, but I do have the Thassa's Oracle.
Okay. Oh, nice.
Yeah. So I do have something.
Do both, boy.
Yeah, no.
What if somebody mills it?
Meh.
He's crazy.
I have other win cons.
Get the Jace.
Yeah, I have other win conditions.
Get the Jace.
What,
so I think, killing somebody hard?
Yeah.
Just aggressive kill? I kill.
So I think, Daniel, what do you have in your deck list for enchantments?
So
yeah,
I'm not gonna go over the ones that are the same.
What differences are there?
Yeah,
that's a good way of putting it.
So one of the biggest differences is with my creatures, I thought it was necessary for sure to run Cryptolith Rite. Cryptolith Rite is 1 and a green for an enchantment that creatures you control have tapped to add 1 mana of any color to your pool.
That makes sense.
It is a monster card in this deck. Like I've really, really gone hard with this one. I run Fevered Visions. At the beginning of each player's end step, that player draws a card. If they have 4 or more in their hand, 2 damage to them at the end step.
Yeah. So, and since you're essentially forcing everybody to draw, like, chances are they're going to have more, like, enough cards in hand to take the deeps.
Yep.
So,
this next card, very, very high mana cost, but I have just seen it go crazy. It's Force Fruition. It's 4 blue. Whenever an opponent plays a spell, that player draws 7 cards.
Wow.
So, to remove it, you're making me 7 snakes. To remove Xyris, you're making me 7 snakes. Like, it is a strong, strong card. There's a ton of card draw that comes from it. I really, really like that one. Another one, because I'm leaning more into the tokens, I went with Seasons of Growth, which is 1 and a green. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, scry 1. And whenever you cast a spell that targets a creature you control, draw a card.
That's pretty cool.
Generally, it's just for the scry so I can organize my deck because I get so many tokens.
Makes sense.
Seed the Land, because if I'm playing snakes, everyone's playing snakes. So Seed the Land is whenever a land comes into play, its controller puts a 1/1 green snake token into play. I really like it.
We're playing Snake Tribal, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, it gets me more snakes. It gets everyone else snakes. And then Thought Reflection is essentially a more expensive Teferi's Ageless Insight. If you would draw a card, draw 2 cards instead. So, but it does also hit the first draw of your turn.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. We'll go on to, let's do sorceries next.
Let's
find those.
Let's do your artifacts.
Artifacts?
Yeah, we're right up there. So
it's different for us.
Oh, well then.
Sounds good. For artifacts, again, I think I have a significant more than you do.
6 more than Daniel.
Let's skip ramp ones because unless they're significant ramp ones.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah, so like if you have a soul ring, we get it.
I have 8 soul rings in here. cheat.
Judge.
So any deck that runs tokens, again, I want lots of different mana. So I start off with Ashnod's Altar, which is
So good.
3 colorless, and whenever I sacrifice a creature, I make 2 colorless mana.
Great card.
Bow of Nylea, which is 1 and a green. Attack creatures you control have Death Touch. If I have 20 something snakes out there, I don't mind if they're going to die,
That is dope.
because something of yours is going to die as well.
That's a great option.
You're having to sack the creature or take that chip damage.
Yep, exactly. And then it does have another ability, which is 1 and a green, and tap it. Choose 1. Put a +1/+1 counter on target creature, or Bow of Nylea deals 2 damage to target creature with flying, or you gain 3 life, or put up to 4 target cards from your graveyard on the bottom of your library in any order.
Great
so
card.
I can get my Thassa's Oracle if someone does mill me back.
Yeah.
You can get a lot of... the recursion built in alone and repeatable on a tap is great.
Mhm.
So the passive is worth running it for alone, and then
Totally.
just the options, you can remove some flyers, you can bolt the bird with it.
Yep, bolt that bird.
Yep.
Next up is, it's the crowd favorite.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody loves this card. And that is Eldrazi's Monument.
I was going to say, I'm like, nice. I literally just opened it. I was
Brian doesn't
nice.
like Eldrazi.
Also Brian.
I mean, I built a monument. That's a statue. I mean, they look cool.
Worship them.
I just think they're neat.
Especially if I have an Ashnod's Altar, I just sacrifice 3 of my snakes. That
Brian has
someone
some
made
weird
for me.
tentacle fetish. Ulamog.
So, oh, sorry.
Oh, you go ahead, yeah.
So Eldrazi's Monument, so it's 5 colorless. Creatures you control get +1/+1, have flying, and are indestructible. I want to keep my snakes around for a very long time.
Yeah, it does have the cost of at your upkeep you have to sack a creature or you have to get rid of the monument, but like if you have that many snakes, it's like it's not even a cost.
If people are drawing 5 cards per
irrelevant.
turn, and I have to miss
You're
the first
always
draw,
netting positive.
Yeah,
Who
exactly. And then the next one would be Folio of Fancies.
How
Love Folio
fancy.
Fancies. It should be in every deck. Love it.
So
Every deck.
Folio Fancies is like, I would say definitely super underrated. It's 1 in a blue and it's an artifact. Obviously, we're talking about artifacts. Still, players have no max hand size.
See,
And
I'm being a friend.
Yep.
yeah,
Being a friend again.
for XX, each player draws X cards. And for 2 in a blue, and it's, both of these are also on a tap, each opponent puts a number of cards equal to the number of cards in their hand from the top of their library into their graveyard. So you can force
Very
them.
good. Gives you really good control. Gives you something to sink that mana in. Someone's going to bust a board wipe. Well, you can dump all your
Bust it.
Ashnod's mana in, and we're all going to draw this many cards at least.
Yeah, exactly. Next would be Font of Mythos. I pulled this card, and it's amazing.
I was going to say, or you can just make your opponent's mill.
Yep.
So if we're all going to draw, sure, or it's screw you guys.
It's great. It's also, in this deck, you're obviously going to draw so much, and that built-in no max hand size is so important.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm giving it to everyone, too, so everyone better be happy.
Font of Mythos is a monster card as well. At the beginning of each player's draw step, that player draws 2 additional cards.
Yeah, so that's just next.
Yep. Love it.
Sure is. And then Horn of Greed, which is 3 colorless, and whenever a player plays the land, that player draws a card. Again,
That's a snake.
Yeah, exactly. It's another snake because I need snakes.
And a Howling Mine.
Yep.
That's a snake.
At the beginning of each player's draw step, if it's untapped, that player draws an additional card. Many people forget that it's an if it's untapped thing
yeah.
because no one ever taps it unless they're playing Urza on their animals.
Yeah, they're the worst person. It's so annoying.
Exactly.
I want to make an Urza deck so bad.
So you got to find one first.
I
Yeah,
know.
good luck. Literally, I was just buying packs of Modern Horizons, just like hoping that I would stumble upon an Urza and it would all be worth it.
Urza. Yeah.
It wasn't. I didn't.
So the next is Lightning Greaves, and I'll jump a step here as well. I do have the Swiftfoot boots because I need to make sure that
Zoom.
I need to make sure that my guy's protected.
Yeah,
He seems fun in games until you see how many snakes he gets, and then he becomes a magnet for those removal spells.
I'm pretty sure at one point in time I had 130 something snakes.
That sounds reasonable for a Xyris deck. Yep.
And then as soon as someone wanted to target me, I jumped the gun and I sacrificed all the snakes and I killed everyone.
That's how it's done.
Yep. And then again, I have Phyrexian Altar. I need that mana. If I'm tapped out, I have a resource of 130 something snakes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wait,
Well,
they're
and it's
so
any
expendable.
color,
Yep.
which is nice, as opposed to the
Too
colorless
colorless.
that consistently is the case. Oh yeah, the puzzle box.
I love the puzzle box.
Ooh.
Many people don't know how the puzzle box functions, so I'm going to let Brian go ahead and read it because it's Brian's deck here.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, you read it.
Go right ahead. Let's include everyone.
Oh, okay, yay.
Get in there.
I don't have a deck. I didn't build this. So Teferi's Puzzle Box, it is a 4-drop artifact. At the beginning of each player's draw step, that player puts the cards in his or her hand on the bottom of his or her library in any order, then draws that many cards.
The part that confuses many people is you have to draw first. There is reminder text on the new one. There wasn't on the old. So you draw if you have...
Sorry, in parentheses, that player draws his or her card for the turn first.
Yeah, so you will draw your card. If you have an instant in your hand, you can cast it. If not, you will draw. You will put all the cards from the bottom, and you'll draw as many again.
Yeah.
So they'll skip the first draw if they have, like I said, if they're going up to 5, they start with 4, they go up to 5. That one, we don't get a snake from Xyris, but we do get for the next 5 draw because these are drawn.
Yeah.
So it's a great card. It's great disruption as well for other people.
Mm-hmm.
I love the card.
Yeah, and then the only downfall is that if they did not have a reaction or something to interact with you, they might draw into that. But again, it's fetching you a bunch more snakes.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. One thing about the puzzle box also that I actually like when I'm on the unfortunate receiving end of it, because it can be kind of annoying, is that it puts a different level of like urgency and pressure onto the game that I think is kind of fun, because often I find that I will hold on to things until there's something more pressing or sandbag a little bit, but this makes it's like you got to play it or you lose it.
Yeah, suddenly you have to actually interact. You have to respond.
I don't know, it just adds a level of like
use it or lose it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I like it.
Next is Temple Bell. Just again, it's 3 colorless and tap. Each player draws a card.
I love Temple Bell. Such a good card.
And I think one artifact to be mentioned that is a mana one is Thought Vessel, because it also gives you no max hand size. So, what about you, Daniel?
So for mine, I run an Altar of the Brood, which I personally want to take out. I just find it focuses too much on the mill there. You get a lot of snakes, as we were saying. So it really does go off. I probably will take that one out, but it's in the deck for now.
You want to take it out, and I want to put it in.
I run a Chromatic Lantern just for the color fixing.
Yeah.
I run Juniper Orrery, which is another interesting one. Each player may play an additional land on each of his or her turns. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, if they have no cards in hand, they draw 3.
Nice.
So again, another draw one. I run a lot of the same extra draw things. I run a spell book, so that I have no max hand size for 0. I also Skull Clamp because I don't mind these snakes dying. And I just like the ability to cycle through. I run Throne of the God Pharaoh as the other major difference one.
One of my favorite cards.
The beginning of your end step, each opponent loses life equal to the number of tapped creatures you control. So if they have damage prevention, it's a nice way to get around it. But also, I have Cryptoloth Right, and I tap them for mana all the time.
Yeah, so they're gonna. So even if you're not attacking with them, they're tapped.
Yeah,
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah,
they are
Throne of the
pretty
God
solid.
Pharaoh rules. It's one of my favorite cards. Check out our episode on under cards that you should run.
I'm gonna do my 2 Planeswalkers quickly because Brian doesn't run any. I run the Jace Wielder of Mysteries because I draw so much. Yeah, the Labman Jace. Just the ability to, if I draw myself out, I win. But then I also run Xenagos, the Reveler. So it's 2 red-green for a 3 loyalty starting Planeswalker. +1, add X mana and any combination of red or green to your mana pool, where X is the number of creatures you control. So really, really strong.
So much mana.
0 is put a 2/2 red-green Satyr onto the battlefield. And then its -6 is exile the top 7 cards of your library. You can put any number of creatures and or lands from among them onto the battlefield.
I feel like what you're really using this for is a +1, right?
Yeah, exactly. I just want that mana ramp ability because it's so big in this deck.
Give me mana.
Let me do the source or the instance because I have 4 and I don't think we have any that share.
Oh, really? Wow, that's definitely going to be interesting.
So my first one is Biomass Mutation.
Oh, yeah.
It's X and either green or blue. Creatures you control have base power and toughness XX until end of turn.
Holy moly.
Yeah, so it's a really, really good
with
mana
that Xenagos, you got 130 mana?
130, 130, 130s.
Oh my gosh.
Amazing.
So I really like that one just as a alternate kill condition. Cerebral Vortex, I also think is hilarious.
I like that you don't call it a win con, you call it kill con.
Yeah, kill con. Cerebral Vortex is 1 blue-red. Instant speed, target player draws 2 cards, then it deals damage equal to the number of cards they've drawn this turn.
Oof. That's also quite cool.
Yeah, so it's pretty good at killing someone who's going off.
Yeah.
Crossing Grip, because Crossing Grip's so good.
Everything should. Crossing Grip should be in any green deck.
Yeah. And then Wheel and Deal, 3 and a blue. Any number of target opponents each discard their hand, then draw 7 cards, and I draw a card.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So you get a bunch of snacks.
Brian, yours.
Snacks. So I do have Wheel and Deal as well as Crows and Grip.
Oh, you do have Wheel and Deal.
Yes. Any wheels I'm going to have. So I do run a lot of removal. So I do have the Beast Within, Crows and Grip, Return to Nature, Tribute
Chaos
to the Wild.
Warp.
Yeah, exactly. So I have enough to remove targets that are either not allowing me to function and get my stakes on board, things along those lines, as well as I run the Deflecting Swat, which is one of those free casts as long as I control my commanders from one of the Ikoria sets or the Commander 20 sets.
It's a great card, in my opinion.
So it's, if I want to cast it, it's a red and 2. And if I do have my commander on the field, it's free. And you may choose new targets for target spells or abilities.
Yeah. The target spell is awesome. Target spell or ability?
Yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah, I really like it.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I do run Daniel's most hated card, Cyclonic
Daniel's
Rift.
a baby.
Yep.
I do like to cry about Cyclonic Rift. It's true.
Yeah.
But if I do have 100 or something snakes on board, I can quickly get rid of everyone else's creatures, and that leaves me open.
At least
to
you have
swing.
a win con-ish.
Yeah.
Which is creatures.
Yep.
Millions and millions of creatures.
All of the creatures.
The most simple win gone.
And then I do have Counterspell, in case someone's trying to target my stuff.
It looks like, just looking at this, it looks like you've built a lot safer than mine.
Yeah. Well, even like having the heroic intervention.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, like again, I find Heroic Intervention is just an automatic in
It's
any
so good.
green deck.
Yep.
Because a lot of people are going to try to target my stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a board wipe. I make my stuff indestructible.
Yep.
And hexproof. You can't touch my stuff. Have a great day. Continue your turn. Don't look at me.
Next, I'm going to kill you.
Yeah, exactly.
Daniel, are you sure you want to do that?
You have angered the snakes.
And then one of the really fun cards here is Words of Wisdom. I get to draw 2 cards, and then each other player gets to draw a card.
Yep.
That's cool.
I like that one.
Yeah, it's one colorless and a blue. Those are, to me, my important instance.
Yeah,
It just allows me to interact a lot of the time.
Yeah, you have a few other minor ones, but they're not as important as those ones I'm seeing for sure.
Should we, while we're kind of... Yeah,
sorcery?
I was just going to say, while we're kind of on the topic, they kind of go together.
Yeah, I'll get you to go your sorceries here, Brian. You have 9?
I have 8.
8? Okay.
So, I just want to call it Cultivate because the new art is gorgeous.
Do you have the new foil?
Sure do.
Of course he does.
Cultivate's so good.
So again, I have
bougie.
and I have to have a ramp package, so I have Farseek because I have to mana fix. Corvat's Fury, that's one of the ones from Battle Bonds.
Love it.
It's a friend or foe.
I love all the friend or foe ones, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
And in all honesty, in this deck, everybody's a friend. For each player, choose friend or foe. Each friend discards all cards from their hand, then draws that many cards plus 1.
That doesn't seem too friendly.
No, well, not if I have Xyris out.
Hey, they're friends.
And this one is 4 and a red. And then for a foe, Corvat's Fury deals damage to each foe equal to the number of cards in their hand.
So with how much you're making them draw, it's also a potential to kill them.
Yeah. So if I do see that someone is down to, say, 7, 8, all depending upon the number of cards in their hand, that might put them to 1 or actually outright kill them, which is fantastic. And that's just one less person that I have to deal with.
I wholeheartedly agree. And then anybody that you can't kill, you can make them a friend and get what's the next.
Yep, exactly. And do you know what? I think the whole reason for this deck is I just want to see how many snakes I can get.
That's literally every token deck Daniel makes. He's just like,
I
he
never
plays until he
generally-
hits like 1,000, and then I'm like, okay, well, you're dead now. And he's like, but I did it.
The new high score.
What does that mean?
Did I break it?
I love that. And again, because I think everyone needs to feel like they're a part of this game. I have Minds Aglow, which is 1 blue as joined forces. Starting with you, each player may pay any amount of mana. Each player draws X cards, where X is the total amount of mana paid this way.
Wasn't this the card that you got Daniel to discard?
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
Instead of Perforos?
This is still a good card. Don't get it. Don't
get it
discount
twisted. I'm not getting it twisted. I'm just telling you.
I didn't have this deck when I played his, so I have no excuse.
Just telling you.
And again, I have lots of really fun ones. So Prosperity, 1 and X, draw X card, or each player draws X cards.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I make X snakes. Time reversal.
X-1.
Yeah. So time reversal. So reshuffle. So it's 3 and a blue, and I reshuffle all of my graveyard hand into my library.
Each player does, and then draw 7. Yeah.
Yeah. So again, more snakes.
That's a very good one. I run that one too.
Yeah, and then Wheel of Fortune. 2 and a red. Again, let me double check. So both,
each player discards their hand and draws 7 cards.
Did they get errated? Because originally it's
It
both
must have.
players.
Yeah, it's each player.
Well, both would have been you and your opponent, but
No, it's a 4-player format.
Yeah.
And then lastly is Windfall, because of course that has to be in this deck.
Each player discards their hand, then draws cards equal to the greatest number of cards discarded this way, and that one can be a lot.
Yeah.
For mine, I have pretty different ones. I run Burning Inquiry. Each player draws 3 cards, then discards 3 cards at random.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, I run Days Undoing. Each player shuffles their hand and graveyard into the library, draw 7 if it's your turn and the turn. So another time reversal kind of effect.
Yeah.
Distant Melody is really, really good when I'm searching for an answer to close the game out. It's choose a creature type, draw a card for each permanent you control of that type.
Oh, what?
Yeah, for 4.
That's a common, baby.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to have to take a look into that one.
Harvest Season, another great ramp card. Search your library for up to X basic lands, where X is the number of tapped creatures you control. Put them onto the battlefield, tapped, then shuffle. So again, I swing with 5 or 6 snakes, go grab 6 land for 3. It's real good.
Well, and it's up to, so that can also mean that if you're using your snakes to tap for mana or something, like...
Yep. I run Kodama's Reach as well as Cultivate, like the normal kind of things.
Yeah.
I run Sasuke's Summon. Sosuke. I'm calling it Sasuke.
You can call it that, but you'd be wrong.
I watch some dork shows. 2 and a green. Put 2 green snake creature tokens into play. Whenever a non-token snake comes into play under my control, I can return it to my hand.
From your graveyard to your hand. Yeah.
Tempt with Discovery, because, I mean, who's not tempted?
Don't be tempted.
Everyone's always tempted. For anyone who doesn't know, it's Tempting Offer. Search your library for a land card, put on the battlefield. Each opponent can search his or her library for a land and put on the battlefield. For each opponent who does search, I get another land. I love Tempt with Discovery.
It is a very good card, and I should really have it in there just to help me.
I run it in so many decks. And then I just run Wheel of Fate because I didn't feel like taking my Wheel of Fortune out of a deck. Wheel of Fate is to spend 4, and it's 1 in a red. Each player discards his or her hand, then draws 7.
Yeah. So it's just Wheel of Fortune with suspend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think the lands are super important to go through, but I'm really, really interested in seeing the difference in the creatures. I think this is where it's going to be the biggest difference in the decks.
Yeah.
So, Brian, I want you to go through yours here.
So my creature list starts with Azusa, Lost But Seeking, 2 and a green. So it just allows me to, again, put out 2 more lands per turn. Just trying to get that ramp so I can really get online and going.
Well, and especially with the sheer amount of cards that you're drawing, like it's very easy to have a bunch of lands in hand. So it's really nice to be able to actually do something with them instead of just discarding them.
Yeah,
So.
Especially if I cannot get an infinite hand size or no maximum hand size card out.
And the other thing, too, is with the sheer amount of Azusas out there now with the reprint and M21, like, it's a lot easier to get your hands on her at a much more reasonable price. Like, I would absolutely recommend
$18,
that.
I think, what's around now.
14 Canadian.
Oh, wow, it went down even more.
Canadian! Which are like Monopoly dollars.
Yeah.
They're not even real.
They taste like maple syrup.
Do they?
No, obviously they
I
don't.
thought that the 100 smelled like a
I
maple
don't
syrup. Or
think
was
that's
that a
real.
lie?
Scratch and sniff
Was
money.
that a lie?
I'm sure it must be.
I gotta look into that because that
I
sounds
think
like
someone
something
fooled
Canada
you.
would do. It sounds like I'm gonna look into this. I'll let you guys know in our next episode.
Yeah, we'll get back to you.
Yeah. Gives you a good reason to tune
I'm
in.
sure our money doesn't smell like maple
I think
syrup.
just the hundreds.
I'm pretty sure
They
it
are the
doesn't.
maple color. The maple syrup.
I know.
Maple syrup color.
Google it.
So
This episode should be called Hope is Gullible.
Hope, a natural blonde.
So I have my natural like mana ramp creatures. So I have Birds of Paradise,
You have your natural
Bloom
blonde.
Tender,
Bloom Tender's so good. Love it.
Land of War Elves. Like I just have my normal creatures.
Elvish
Masterpiece,
Mystic.
Oh, yes.
consecrated
An Elvish
sphinx.
Mystic. Yes.
You're jumping ahead, Hope.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We're talking ramp.
Sorry.
Yeah, I was just going through my ramp creatures, but name the next creature, Hope.
I'm sorry. It's not my turn.
It is now.
It's Masterpiece Consecrated Sphinx.
I was just recognizing Brian's sheer flex.
Yeah. The only consecrated sphinxes that I have are the masterpieces.
Oh man!
Love them.
Wow.
They are beautiful.
So what a flexy thing to say.
Mhm.
The only consecrated sphinxes I have. Poor me. Poor Brian. Oh man.
I guess
Oh
this is
my
why I
God.
get picked on. I understand, guys.
Ah, I love you.
What does it do?
I just tease.
So consecrate. Yes. What does it do?
Oh, it's a flying sphinx doing, and whenever an opponent draws a card, you may draw 2.
It's a very good
Correct.
card.
Yes.
4/6 flyer on a 6-cost body. We said in the last episode, very, very strong.
Yeah, big boy.
Yeah, especially if everyone's drawing 5 cards at your upkeep.
But
Or
yeah.
draw 10.
You may draw 10. You
Yep.
don't have to draw 10.
Well, you can easily get through your deck, and especially if you're running things like the Oracle, like you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And again, to enforce everyone to not attack me and to really be a pal to everyone at the board or at the table, I have Edric, Spy Master of Trust, which
Great
is
card.
1 colorless, a green, and a blue. And as an elf rogue, whenever a creature deals combat damage to one of your opponents, its controller may draw a card.
That's kind of cool. So you're just like, yeah, why would you hit me when you can hit them and get the draw?
Yeah, exactly.
You idiot.
I love it. It's a great
So-
card.
Yeah, that is also like a really nice way to protect yourself. Like you're not even doing anything actively. That's just passive protection.
Yep, exactly.
So.
And then an Eternal Witness, 1 and 2 green. I could play it, get a card back from my graveyard.
What a great card.
Yep.
Let's just like recognize. What
Again,
a great
any
card.
green deck, it should be there.
It's awesome.
And then essentially a wheel on a creature is Jace's Archivist.
Mhm.
Love it.
1 colorless, 2 blue. Vidalcan Wizard, 1 blue, and tap. Each player discards his or her hand, then draws cards equal to the greatest number of cards a player discarded this way.
Windfall on a stick. It's great.
Yeah, that can be super brutal.
I love it. I think I've gotten it off once so far, but everyone realizes quickly that they need to kill
Yeah.
it.
That it's a real target.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely a problem, especially because you can get it out so easily, so early. So.
Yeah. Exactly. And then Kami of the Crescent Moon, 2 blue, legendary creature spirit. 1/3 at the beginning of each player's draw step, that player draws an additional card.
Howling Mine on a creature. I love it.
Yeah,
And then the next,
I really added something to
I
that.
thought this next one wasn't. I thought this was an interesting one to include.
What?
I don't think I would have included this one personally.
Llanowar elves?
No, we've already
Oh.
done the ramp one, so get it together.
It's like, why is that weird?
It is early.
It's not that early. It's like noon. I have no excuses. I'm just dumb. So, wow.
So what is the next card?
Niv Mizzet, Perun. 3 blue, 3 red. He's intense. He's a dragon wizard. He's awesome. He can't be countered. Flying. Whenever you draw a card, Niv Mizzet deals 1 damage to any target. Whenever a player casts an instant or sorcery, you draw a card.
So my thought with it was, if I do get it out, because it does rely on me having
Fancy.
three of each color, blue
Yeah.
and red. But again, it's just like Impact Tremors or anything else. Whenever I'm forcing people to draw cards,
Yeah.
I'm then able to ping them.
Yeah.
My personal suggestion to it would be to replace it with Psychosis Crawler. Psychosis Crawler is whenever you draw, everyone takes a damage, and it's 5 colorless.
I guess so. That actually could be a
Safer one.
yeah. Because I think I've had it in my hand and it's just sat there.
Niv Mizzet, he's really good, like, but again, it's the 3/3, which makes him pretty difficult to get out.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was interesting when I saw it, but he's still very good, and he does let you draw to some protection if people are trying to remove your things with instants and sorceries. He's still a great card.
Yeah, totally.
Next we have Oran.
Mm-hmm.
It's a snake.
Oran Frostfang. 3 and 2 green. And attacking creatures you control have Death Touch. And whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card.
Nice.
Great static abilities.
Since I didn't remove it from Daniel, how about you read off this next one?
The absolute goat.
This card is absolutely invaluable in this deck. It's a win con. It's Perforos, God of the Forge. 3 and a red for a legendary enchantment creature. God. It's indestructible, as all the gods. For a 6/5, as long as your devotion to red is less than 5, it's not a creature. And when another creature enters the battlefield under your control, Perforos deals 2 damage to each opponent.
Very strong.
And for 3, 2 and a red, creatures you control get 1/0 until the end of turn. I've never seen somebody use it, but you can dump your mana into it.
I use group fire breathing all the time.
I've never
Love
seen it. I've never seen somebody do it, but
very good.
It is definitely a nice option.
Next, we have Reclamation Sage, which, again, it's one of the ones that should just be included in any green deck. Bring her in, blow something up.
Yeah.
It's a great card.
Yeah.
Great removal.
Totes.
Daniel, since do you have this guy in your deck?
I
Sure
have
does.
this one on mine. Do you want to skip it until we're on mine?
Sure.
Okay, we'll skip Brian's snake. Brian does have a snake, though.
I have
Look at him go. That's 2.
two whole
Wow.
snakes.
2
Other
snakes
than just
in his snake deck.
other tokens.
Yeah.
I'll let you get to your next one here.
So next is another win con, if I can actually get to the point, which would be Thassa's Oracle. 2 blue. When Thassa's Oracle enters the battlefield, look at the top X cards of your library, where X is the devotion to blue. Put up to 1 of them on top of your library and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. If X is greater than or equal to the number of cards in your library, you win the game.
Great card.
Yeah, so I just have it in there because if I am drawing enough and I can get it down and I have it in my hand, or if I can quickly bring something in, bounce it back or get it back from my graveyard to my hand, I can then win that way if it gets down to the end game.
It's definitely a great additional win con to have at the ready, you know?
Yeah.
It's certainly not hurting you to have that in your deck, so I think it's a great idea.
My deck list for creatures is pretty different. It has a few cards that cross over, but a lot are snakes.
Yeah.
I'm going to start off, obviously I also run like a Birds of Paradise because it's so good. But my first non-ramp one that I run is Humble Defector. 1 and a red, and it has tap to draw 2 cards. Target opponent gains control of it, and you can activate this ability only during your turn.
Just sharing them around?
Yeah, exactly. So really, really easy to give other people the ability to draw 2 cards. I'm going to get snakes off it. It's very, very fun to pass around.
Yeah, well, and it's an early game thing too, right? So It's pretty sweet.
The next card is an unknown gem to many people. Jushi Apprentice. It's one of the old flip cards where they're both on the same side.
Yeah, from Kamigawa.
So it's 1 and a blue.
I hated that set.
1 and a blue, and it has pay 2 and a blue. It's a 1/2 wizard. It has 2 and a blue. Tap it, draw a card. If you have 9 or more cards in hand, flip it. And once you flip it, it has an ability where you can pay 5.
And tap.
So 3 colorless, 2 blue, and a tap. Target player draws X cards, where X is the number of cards in your hand.
Ooh.
Ooh, that's right.
And
Do you hate it now?
With how much you draw in your own deck, like it can really, really go off. And you can also be target player if you want.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Something I hadn't really thought about.
Yep.
Yeah, especially if, say, you have for me, if I had that in there and I had Consecrated Sphinx and I've been drawing 2 cards for every single card that someone else drew, come back to me. Oh, I'm going to mill you. You draw probably 40 cards, please.
Go die.
Yep.
This next one is some of my built-in protection. It's Kashi Tribe Elite.
Can I just mention real quick? I would 10 out of 10 recommend that you look up the art because it looks like the snake is going ha!
I'm glad Hope enjoys it. It's 1 green for a snake warrior, a 2/3. Legendary snakes you control can't be the target of spells or abilities. Whenever it deals combat damage to a creature, tap that creature and it doesn't untap during its controller's next untap.
That means Xyris. Xyris is a legendary snake.
So are many of these other next ones. The next one is not, though. It's Matsu Tribe Decoy. It's another snake warrior, 2 and a green for a 1/3. And it has pay 3. Target creature blocks it this turn if able. Whenever it deals combat damage to a creature, tap it. It doesn't untap during its controller's next untap.
Nice.
The next one is Orochi Sustainer.
It's also not legendary.
It is also not legendary. It's a 1/2 for 2 mana that is just a Llanowar elf. Tap to add a green.
It's
But
a Llanowar
on
snake.
Flavor.
Yes,
And that's what matters.
Snake.
Rattleclaw Mystic because it just taps for all my colors that I need.
Yeah.
Sachi, Daughter of Sashiro. 2 green for a legendary one. This is legendary.
Nice.
Also,
About time.
an uncommon legendary, which is pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. That's
Yeah.
some OG uncommon legendary status.
1/3. So it's 4 mana for a 1/3. Other snakes you control get +0/+1. Shamans you control have tap to add 2 mana to your pool. And it is a shaman. So it taps as well for 2 mana. It's a great card in the deck.
You know who else is a shaman? Sakura Tribe Elder.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
But that's not the one we're on. The next one we're on is something I'm shocked Brian isn't running. This is Sakiko, Mother of Summer. 4 green for another legendary snake shaman. 3/3. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, add that much green mana to your pool. Doesn't cause mana burn until the end of the turn.
Because
it doesn't...
mana burn mattered.
No, listen. This, until end of turn, this mana doesn't empty from your pool as phases end.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, that's really nice.
That's really, really good.
I do like, though, that it has to specify that it doesn't cause mana burn. I just think that's cute.
Sakura Tribe Elder, obviously. It is a snake shaman, hope is
Well,
right.
it's cool because you can tap it and then you can also sack it. You can tap it for mana or...
Sakura,
Oh, yeah, that's a really good point. I like
that's
that.
why I was mentioning it.
Sakura Tribe Scout. 1 for a 1/1 that lets you tap and put a land from your hand into play. Puts that land in untapped, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
Sakura Tribe Springcaller. A snake shaman, 3 and a green for a 2/4. The beginning of your upkeep, add a green to your mana pool. Doesn't cause mana burn until the end of the turn. It does not empty.
Pretty cool.
This is a really, really fun card to get off, and in this deck with how much you draw, you can. It's Sasaya Orochi Ascendant. It's a legendary creature, Snake Monk, a 2/3, and it's 1 green. It has an ability, reveal your hand. That's the cost. If you have 7 or more lands in your hand, flip Sasaya Orochi Ascendant, and it becomes a legendary enchantment that is Sasaya's Essence. And Hope, can you read that one?
Whenever a land you control is tapped for mana, add 1 mana of that type to your mana pool for each other land you control with the same name.
Wow.
Yeah.
So if you have 5 forests, each forest taps 5 mana.
Also, Daniel out here running 36 lands, me not knowing why.
Now it makes sense.
All makes sense.
Wow.
All coming together. It's all coming up Millhouse.
Brian and I both run this card. This is the snake that was in his deck. It is a legendary Snake Monk.
Snake.
Sashiro the Anointed. 4 green. Other snakes you control get +2/+2. That's pretty good. And whenever a snake you control deals combat damage to a player, you may draw. Very, very good card.
Pretty neat.
Yeah, it just, again, I want to be able to kind of outdraw everyone else.
Do you want to make the table hate you? Because that's what this next legendary snake is. It's Shisato, the Whispering Hunter. 3 and a green. At the beginning of your upkeep, you have to sack a snake. Not a problem in this deck.
Nope.
Almost too easy.
Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, that player skips his or her next untap.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, very strong snake.
Brian, oh no.
I'm going to have to go and find me one of these.
The next one's Shizuku, Caller of Autumn. 1 green, legendary snake shaman. Beginning of each player's upkeep, that player adds 3 green to their pool. Doesn't cause mana burn. Doesn't empty as phases end. So if I have the other snake shaman out, this is something bringing me 5 mana. Great card.
Yep.
I thought you were going to say something bringing me fire. I don't know why.
Oh,
Sososku, or whatever. Sosuke?
now you want to call it.
Sosuke, son of Seshiro. 2 green, legendary snake warrior, also uncommon, very cool for a 3/4. Other snakes you control get 1/0, and whenever a warrior you control deals combat damage to a creature, destroy that creature at the end of combat.
Basically Death Touch.
Pretty cool.
Neat.
Spark Double is so good because I want another Xyris.
Yeah.
Never can have another one. So it's 3 and a blue For a creature illusion, you can have it enter the copy as battlefield as a copy of any creature or planeswalker you control, except it enters with an additional 1/1 counter on it if it's a creature, or a extra loyalty counter if it's a planeswalker, and it isn't legendary if that permanent's legendary. So you can double down on your snake creation.
Yes.
And the next one is how to kill everyone in one shot.
It's another one of the uncommon legendary creatures, one of the Dominaria ones. And this is Tetsuko Umezawa Fugitive. 1 and a blue for human rogue. Creatures you control with power or toughness, 1 or less, can't be blocked, and for a 1/3.
I like that. So if you're only buffing up one of those powers and toughnesses, yeah, that's great.
So if they're +1/0 or +0/1, they're still unblockable. You can still really bash people with it.
And that's like a 50-cent.
Yeah, I swing out with my 100 and something snakes, and they're all unblockable.
So honestly, when I made this deck, I did not expect it to have the power that it has. This deck just really, really goes off. Like
it slaps.
It's, as one of my brothers called it the last time we played, group hug with a purpose.
Yeah.
And like it's a lot of times group hug just kind of meanders through a game. It does things, but it doesn't really work itself towards a win.
Yeah.
Whereas this, like, you're really working towards a win with all your things.
Yeah.
And you risk other people have to remove your cards that are helping you, but they risk agitating the table by doing so.
Yeah.
You know, if you hit my Rites of Flourishing, then you're upsetting the players who don't have mana and stuff.
Or the players that didn't get to do it yet.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, that's annoying. And I'm like, well, you got to play an extra land. Like, what about me? I'll attack you.
It really ramps the game up to a point where...
To 11.
You allow everyone else to play their decks and to draw into their mana, so no one should really be mana screwed.
Yeah.
I do really, really like that about group hug decks in general. I love playing group hug, and like you said, it lets people experience their deck. They get to try it in a way it generally won't function. Generally, your deck's not going to play as good as your group hug potential.
Yeah,
and
that's real.
And that's the thing. Like, so this was one of my newest decks that I built, but it's one of the decks that I don't really want to bring out and play against people because I still don't know technically say where my power level sits.
It, like I said, I was very shocked at how strong the deck was because I put in my general archetypes for group hug, and then I was like,
snakes.
Yeah, and then I was like, what snake creatures are there?
Yeah, you're just like, give me the Kamigawa binders.
That was basically the whole thing. Yeah,
I know. I was there.
So I just was going through, and I just was taking legendary snakes and putting them in the deck, and it ended up working.
Yeah, almost too well. And I think it's really cool that, like, both of you have similar vibes, similar win cons, but totally different decks.
Yeah, totally different paths to those wins.
Exactly. It's really interesting. So I just think that's really fun. And Brian, with regards to not quite knowing where your power level is, I'd say all the more reason to play the deck. Just kind of feel it out, you know?
Yeah, it's just, we played it once at the LGS.
If only there was an article you could refer to.
Yes, I understand that there's an article. But I like to actually play it and understand where it actually sits.
It's a lot easier to actually, once you see how it functions. A deck on paper is not as good as a deck on theory.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't.
Because I've gone through, I've played it a few times. Like I mentioned earlier in the episode, I was able to get out 100 and something snakes, sacrifice those snakes, be able to hit each player for 40 plus damage, even the life gain deck, and be able to kill everyone. And I can't remember exactly what turn we were on, but it's just the fact that you can build up such an army in such a short period of time.
It happens so rapidly, especially if you are playing with like a traditional like 4-player pod. Like it's so easy.
Yep. Especially when everyone is drawing 4 or 5 cards a turn, because a lot of those like draw, they're reasonably priced CMC wise.
Yeah, 2,
like
3.
2, 3, yeah.
Lots
this deck
of threes.
is pretty budget friendly. Like Brian and I both have kind of more...
Brian's.
No, Brian and I both have like kind of more expensive ones, but like if you think about it,
take out the Wheel of Fortune.
Take out as Consecrated Sphinx, which is almost $100 of the deck.
Yeah.
Right? So like when you break it down, you could remove a few pieces from each of our deck and have a pretty reasonable budget deck. Like a lot of... Don't get me wrong, it's not going to be a cheap deck, but a lot of it is going to be affordable. You're going to have a lot of fun playing it.
Well, and a lot of the cards, I even noticed, like, you can pull out of the commander deck itself.
Yep.
So, I mean, And like a lot of those snakes are like kind of junky cards from an old set that are going to cost you $1 or less each.
First off,
for the
wow.
Well,
That's an
they
attack.
are. The only reason that they're even somewhat like viable right now is because of Xyris. Like Snake Tribal was not a viable archetype.
I used to play snakes a
I know.
lot in like different constructed formats, and they just have never panned out to EDH. I've never even thought of making them because nothing's good enough to make them in mono green snakes, and there's not enough of a color support for like a 2-color snake. This really opened up a tribe that didn't have an EDH home.
Yeah, and now it's
Definitely does.
Yeah, it's super viable.
And you can have it just like it can be a group hug deck. It can be a snake deck. It
could just be like a
token deck.
Slappy token deck, yeah.
And I think one of the cards that I saw that would easily fit in here was Mage's the Wheel.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Just another one that came out of the deck or out of
Wheel
one of the commander decks that you could throw in there. And do you know what? It's great. Like, it's just, I don't care what's in my hand. That's Wheel.
Yeah.
Well, and stuff like
roll the dice, baby.
Stuff like Teferi's Ageless Insight coming out at the same time really also gives this deck a lot of oomph.
Yeah, oomph Izzy.
I was really amazed, like when I had it out and I had Consecrated Sphinx out, and it's like, okay, so you go to draw 2, but wait a minute, I draw 4. Like it just doubles up again, and I'm just like, okay, this is gonna get out of hand real quick.
Oh yeah.
Well, it turns all your group hug into advantage, right? Like a lot of times you're playing cards that aren't, you have your ramp, you have your guard Gamoza kind of stuff to protect you, maybe a Pramicon out, but you don't have like Hunter Snakes. Like you're able to build 2 different, very different, distinct deck types into one effortlessly because you're gonna have a token deck. You don't need a doubling season to have a token deck with this deck, And it's the same thing. Like you could go way harder into the token theme if you wanted.
Yep.
Or you could go even not into it, all draw, and you would still make a token deck.
Yeah,
You're gonna have a lot. Like there's so many cool things you can do. This is
it's like built-in protection.
It's a very versatile commander, and it's just very fun. And like I feel like we just haven't even touched on it enough that he also draws cards when he deals damage. So it's really easy to politics.
We didn't even really talk about that.
Yeah, like we mentioned it, but it's a very great politicsing tool to say like, listen, I want some more snakes. You're not having
You want some draw.
Yeah, you're not hitting your lands. Like, let me give you 3 cards. We'll both draw 3. I'm going to hit you with this. Like, it's not threatening enough to be scared. It's not like a Traxa. You're not going to let a Traxa just bonk you in the face, right?
You could even make this in a Voltron deck.
Well, you could for sure. But that's what I mean. Like, it's just the fact that you can politics so well with your commander to help other people draw without losing anything. You don't lose anything you're getting the draw, you're getting the snakes.
Yep.
And you know what? Like when I've been playing our virtual games, I go, who wants some draw?
Yeah.
And people are freely like arguing with one another going, I want draw. No, I want to. No, you got hit last time. It's my turn.
I want to be attacked.
It's
let me
like
take
I
that
said,
commander damage.
It's such a very interesting archetype, and we both have different decks, but they both I think are going to do a similar thing with that, and they're just so fun to play.
I think they have the same spirit.
They're so fun to play because it's just out of nowhere. You're helping the table. Then 58 snakes later, I'm casting Perforos, and everyone's like, whoa.
Yeah.
Pump the brakes here. How do we get here?
Why did you let him hit you? Why did you let him hit you?
Yeah, like it's such a fun deck to play. It's really, really a blast.
Yeah, and then like again, like so with having all of these snakes and having all those altars, like I might have no mana untapped, but
you got mana on mana though.
Exactly. And I'm just able to sacrifice those snakes. So say I go in, I swing.
Mana all day.
I now have 50-something tapped snakes.
Yeah.
I'm going to start sacrificing said snakes to make more mana.
Yep.
To play out more cards. Oh, no, everybody has to draw like 12 cards on their
And now
upkeep.
I have more snakes.
Exactly.
You're just, you're...
These tap snakes are useless now.
Yeah, you're in a great position, so...
It's a very, very fun deck.
You could literally kill somebody just by swinging. They block everything. You kill them with Throne of the God Pharaoh.
Yep.
That's terrifying.
There's no way. Yeah. That's why that card's so underplayed.
I would love to know what else people would like to build into this. Obviously, I think we have touched on a lot of the main ones.
Yeah, draw tokens.
But there's going to be stuff we missed. Like what would you put into a Xyris deck, and would you pronounce it Xyris or Xyris?
Yeah.
Don't just type it because we.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I type it, yeah.
Please write it. Yeah. X, Y.
That's a voice note.
Yes. Write it out phonetically. So.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I really hope you give a deck like this a try because it's going to be so fun. It's going to maybe break up a little bit of the competitive nature you're having with a deck that's still strong. You're not going to sacrifice strength for fun with this deck.
No. But yeah, so check us out on all of our socials, our Discord, and our streams on Saturdays. And of course, always have a look at our website, intothe99.com. We're posting all of our podcasts, links to our videos, as well as our articles from all of our super talented writers.
Yep.
So give us a check, and we'll see you next Sunday.
See you later.
Bye.